It was the kind of story whispered behind marble walls and champagne glasses. A tale that lived in the quiet corners of high society. On the outskirts of the city stood a dazzling white mansion, its towering glass windows gleaming beneath the soft morning sun. But inside those pristine walls, peace was nowhere to be found. Every nanny who had ever crossed the threshold of that mansion had left within days. Some in tears, others too angry to speak. The reason? 2 6-year-old twin boys who had turned every rule of discipline upside down. Their father, Adrian Kingsley, a man whose fortune was whispered about in business magazines, possessed everything money could buy, except harmony within his home. Since losing his wife when the twins were barely toddlers, Adrian had been fighting a losing battle. Every new nanny was met with chaos. The boys tested limits, broke rules, and made sure no one ever replaced the love that had been taken from them. That morning, yet another nanny stormed out the grand front doors, slamming them behind her as she muttered she'd had enough. Adrian stood motionless in the foyer, frustration clouding his face. How could 2 small children create such turmoil that grown adults fled in defeat? If you believe that kindness, patience, and understanding can heal even the most wounded hearts, take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who still believes in second chances, and subscribe to Limitless Truth for stories that remind us how compassion can rebuild what's broken. That very afternoon, a woman named Mariah approached the tall iron gates of the Kingsley mansion. She wasn't a nanny. She wasn't even looking to be one. She had come for a housekeeping position, a job most others had already turned down. Her uniform was modest, her hands calloused yet steady, and her eyes carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had weathered life's storms. When she stepped inside, she saw more than luxury. She sensed a strange silence, the kind that doesn't belong in a home where children live. Adrian met her in his usual impeccable suit, speaking curtly, explaining that her duty was to clean, nothing more. But Mariah's gaze wandered past him, to the staircase, where 2 small faces peeked through the railing, their eyes guarded and wary. From that very moment, the twins began to test her. They spilled juice on the freshly polished floors, knocked over expensive vases, and hid her cleaning cloths. Most people would have scolded them. Mariah didn't. She saw through the chaos, recognizing not malice but pain. Their defiance was a plea. Their mischief a question. Would she leave too? Late at night, when the mansion grew quiet, she heard them whisper to each other through their bedroom door. "Do you think she'll leave tomorrow?" one asked. That simple question tugged at something deep inside Mariah. Right then, she made a silent promise. She wouldn't just clean this house, she would try to heal the hearts that lived in it. Days turned into weeks. Mariah met every tantrum not with anger, but with patience. Slowly, she began to understand them. Ethan, the older twin, hid his emotions behind toughness, but secretly slept with one of his mother's scarves tucked under his pillow. Liam, the younger one, acted out to disguise the fear that kept him awake at night unless someone sang to him. So Mariah started doing small, thoughtful things no one had done before. She slipped tiny notes into their lunchboxes that read, "You are stronger than you think," and "Your mom would be proud." She cooked meals they loved, even if it meant staying up late. And she turned chores into little games, letting them feel useful, included, and seen. Adrian couldn't help but notice the shift. The boys who once slammed doors and refused to eat now came running when Mariah called for dinner. Laughter, something the mansion hadn't heard in years, began to echo down the marble halls. For the first time since his wife's passing, Adrian felt warmth seeping back into his home. Still, he couldn't understand how. How had this humble woman succeeded where trained professionals had failed? One evening, he returned home earlier than usual, and what he saw stopped him cold. There, in the soft glow of the bedroom lamp, Mariah lay asleep between the twins. One child nestled on each side, their small hands resting against her arms. A book lay open on her lap, mid-story. The peaceful scene struck him deeply, stirring a feeling he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Love. Mariah's path wasn't easy. There were still hard days. Moments when the boys retreated into silence or grief resurfaced without warning. But she never walked away. She taught them to plant flowers in the garden, telling them softly, "Hearts are like these. They only bloom when you care for them." And little by little, the boys began to trust not only her but also the world again. Months passed. Then, one quiet, rainy night, Adrian overheard something that broke through the last walls of his heart. The twins were whispering before bed. "Do you think Mariah will leave?" Ethan asked softly. Liam paused before answering, his voice small but certain. "No, she's different. She's home." That word, home, hit Adrian like lightning. In that moment, he realized Mariah hadn't simply looked after his sons. She had given them back their sense of belonging, their faith in love, and the peace they'd forgotten existed. A few weeks later, on a sunny Sunday morning, Adrian invited Mariah to join them for breakfast. The boys were unusually cheerful, bouncing in their seats with excitement. Halfway through the meal, Adrian cleared his throat and made an announcement that caught her completely off guard. From that day forward, he said, Mariah would no longer be the maid. She was to be their permanent caregiver, a part of the Kingsley family. Tears filled Mariah's eyes as she looked at the twins, both smiling with pure joy. The true reward, she realized, wasn't a new title. It was seeing those once lonely boys finally laugh without fear, knowing they'd never be left behind again. If this story moved your heart, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in the quiet power of kindness, and subscribe to Limitless Truth, where every story reminds us that love, patience, and compassion can change even the hardest hearts. Before we end, I'd love to hear from you. Do you believe that patience and love can truly transform even the most broken souls? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because your words might be the hope someone else needs today.